I am California of the past.
I am California of the past.
I am California of the past.
I'm Michele Trausch, and I've lived in Pacifica since 1984. And in 1986, I was invited to join a group of women in an organization called MIZPAH. And that's where I met Helen James, who's sitting here with me. MIZPAH is a remarkable group of women. We limit our membership to 25, and that's because we meet in people's homes, and so we want to have enough room.
A sample of one of our meetings at the home, and you can see again, this is in the, I guess about 69, but we were still wearing our dress clothes, our good pump shoes. We probably came with hats and gloves even.
MIZPAH has actually been around since 1948. It was originally called Ladies Aid Circle. Number 2. I don't know what happened to number 1, but it was number 2.
Number 1 had the Sharp Park women.
Okay.
The original ones.
Okay. And the purpose of the organization when it was formed in 1948 was really to support and raise money for what is now known as the Little Brown Church. The church was the only Protestant church on the coast, and it's the church everyone went to because there was no other church here in the Pacific, what became Pacifica, in the Pacifica area. And so the function of the group initially was to raise funds, usually by bake sales, to contribute to things that were needed with respect to this particular church. As the community began to grow, other churches came into the area, and people started going to churches that were of their particular denomination rather than just the one that was at the Little Brown Church. The group had to make a decision as to whether they were going to continue to be an organization that supported just a church or what they were going to do. And they ultimately decided that they would be a non-sectarian and non-political organization and move themselves away from the connection to any specific or particular church and serve the community. Despite this decision to move away from any religious affiliation, they came up with the name MIZPAH, which is a Hebrew word found in the Bible, which means, you say what it means, Helen, please.
May the Lord watch between me and thee while we are absent one from another.
Starting in roughly 57 or so, the organization began raising funds for scholarships for Pacifica students going on from high school to college.
I think it was even earlier.
You think it was earlier? Okay.
That's the reason I joined MIZPAH. And
Oh,
I
great.
joined in 56. They were the only organization on the coast giving scholarships.
Great, thanks. So the way that they were doing that was primarily through the rummage sale, right?
Yes, that seemed to be the one where they generated the most money.
The rummage sales were week-long events where the organization would take over a vacant storefront or whatever and spend a week cleaning and organizing and washing and ironing and displaying the various wares that would be purchased by other members of the community and other MIZPAH members as part of this grand rummage sale. It was quite an event and took up an enormous amount of time and energy.
We have all kinds of funny stories. A husband came in to the rummage sale, and he was looking just casually, didn't think he'd find it. He said, "Ooh, these are good-looking pants." He put, and they sure look like a pair of pants. I said, "I think these are my pants." And it turned out I guess he or his wife had taken them to the cleaners. They'd forgotten about them and just left them there for almost a year. So the cleaners gave them to the rummage sale.
So the other thing in the early days, starting perhaps around 1960 or so, was the blood bank. So the blood bank, which is really a tradition in this town, we have the blood bank now sponsored by the Blood Bank of the Pacific, I think is what it's called now. They come every year, about 4 times a year. Now we do this at the Moose Lodge, and doing the blood bank because MIZPAH started them coming here. And in order to entice donors to come, MIZPAH serves, and started then and still does, serves a hot breakfast.
Dot
Smith.
She is cooking breakfast at the Moose Lodge for the
blood bank.
For the blood bank.
As the women in our group started working more outside the home, as our members were working outside the home, moving into the 70s and 80s, the 90s, the rummage sale was shortened to a one-day event. Today we're doing what we call a tag sale, just in someone's front yard. But it's still a moneymaker, and it's still a good project.
Then we had a member who had a dancing school and was involved with show business. And so she said, well, if we'd back her up, she would help us put on a show and we'd make some money that way. And so we did. We put on a show, and Lindemar School was just fairly newly opened. It had a reasonably nice stage, and so we put on that first show there. Among many of the people from the community that came in and volunteered and performed was Jean Fassler. She came in a cowboy hat and a guitar and sat on a bale of hay and sang cowboy songs. I was in the can-can line.
Perfect.
And anyway, so it was fun, and we thought we'd try it again. This time we thought we'd try something a little different. We had some wonderfully creative people, and one of them, Grace Ayers, who was the person who coined the word Pacifica for our city, but she came up with the idea of, let's do a history of the coast side. And so each scene was a gradual development of a coast, of something that happened, started with the Indians and so forth. By that time it was 59, we had a new council, city council. So this was also saying, and now we ended up with a wonderful city. And the dream was, what would happen to this, next. Grace came up with the idea of writing new words about our city to the tune of Tarara Boomtie, which is a fantastic song. But everyone had so much. We had in those days we had the Dream Girls, who were baton twirlers. They were there on the whole group was almost on the stage by that time and down in front of the stage. And a good portion of our city council, Jean Fassler by that time had been elected mayor. They were all there, and they were all having so much fun that they must have had a city council meeting shortly after, because they were, and the effect carried on, and they decided to name that our city song.
One thing that's nice about this organization, this fact that it's been around for so long, is we've had successive generations of the same family. So we've had mothers and then their children and grandchildren and even great-grandchildren now, I think we're on to, right?
We're about to.
Yeah. It's definitely one of the first on the coast, you told me. Yeah?
Yeah.
Right.
There were other groups organized around the schools, but an independent women's organization, it's very unusual for them to survive this long without any connection to any other organization.
It's true. Yeah.
But it was just, but I think it's the fact that we all work together, it's a small group, and we have a goal of doing what we can to help our community, and our community always has something it needs help with.